Welcome to the second phase of the internationally acclaimed Positive Personal Power podcast. This webcast is devoted to pillars of success and philosophies of life and the hardcore tools you must have to achieve success in business and life. Distinguished and successful, internationally known business and thought leaders Nathaniel Schooler and Stephen J. Manning give you their hardcore tools to succeed in business and life. Schooler and Manning are as hardcore about success as boot camps in the military and training camps in professional sports. Now, here is your host, Nathaniel Schooler.
Well, I am privileged again to be joined by Stephen J. Manning. If you don't know him, he basically took a nearly bankrupt marketing business and he grew it into $1 billion a year enterprise across the pond in the States. And yeah, we are here today to talk about jobs, careers, and actually fulfillment, because I'm unsure if a job, well, I suppose a job could fulfill you, but I think we've got a whole list of things we're going to cover today. And you know, we all have turning points in our lives, and career turning points, you know, they can be just completely random. They can be, you know, you might just be triggered by some sort of event, as I was many years ago. My manager was bullying me when I worked in a wine merchant's. And I just quit there and then. It's a funny story. I'm not going to tell it today, but I think the best thing is to sort of say thank you for joining me again, Stephen. And I think we should kick off with the sort of career turning points, because I know you've had lots of twists and turns, and you've helped people to get through those themselves.
Thank you, Nat. Always my pleasure. It's always as instructive and informational for me as it is, I hope, for our, thank you all very much, really growing audience. This is the 6th episode of Positive Personal Power. And man, that's something you and I do and talk about 18 hours a day, every day. So I'm glad to be with you as always.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll just correct you there. It's the 6th episode on phase 2. So I don't want you to forget that, because we're building on a real heritage here, and it's a privilege to, you know, be standing on the shoulders of giants, really, and I include you in one of those, really, to be honest.
Well,
so
thank you for the kind words. I stand corrected also. The phase 1 of Positive Personal Power, for those that may not have run into it yet, it was 300 episodes that Nat conducted interviews with just truly, truly outstanding people, luminaries, and every kind of discipline you can think of, in publishing, in politics, in sports, in business, and all of that. And what I will now confess to, my friend Nat, is that I have been very slowly, however, meticulously picking through those and cherry picking some of those. I just don't have the bandwidth to sit through 300 at a sit. But there's probably, I don't think there's a week that goes by where I don't find myself walking or taking a break from work. I do that mainly for showers and sleep. And then, or getting in a car, going to do something meaningful. Well, I just, I'm going to listen to the hour that Nat did with Stanley Tucci. And I'm going to listen to this hour that he did with this man I read about. He happens to be, was knighted by the Queen, I don't know, 20 years ago, because these people have a lot to offer. So you're right. Following up on some of those, I'm assuming that 298 of the 300 are the same, meaning their quality. It must be where you were, must be two where you had a headache. But other than that.
Yeah, well, on the first 20 episodes, we've actually kept those live, and number one is very, very interesting. That's with a lady called Marvarine Cole, and she's actually now grown into a new role within the BBC, I think, or some other kind of TV in the UK. She's on all sorts of TV shows now and hanging out with all sorts of celebrities, which is fantastic to watch her career grow has been really interesting. And in that episode, I tell the story of when I got a parking ticket parked outside the job centre when I was claiming £35.64 from the government per week. And I parked my motorcycle on the pavement and came out and there was a ticket. But I tell that story in that episode. But, career turning points, like I say, there can be
I have to
right?
share one more thing with you.
Mm-hmm.
Because all of you who are watching, listening to us, this is live, Nat pushes a button and we do this. We do this for typically an hour at the time that we tape. And there is no edit function. There is no edit button. And one of the many, thank you all, emails I get, because both Nat and I publish our email addresses as part of this, please communicate. I got an email from a man who actually runs one of the top orthopedic hospitals in Italy. And the email, which it was fun, exciting to get, said, I just listened to one of your podcasts, and just so I know, he says, you guys get together and you hop into a 12-cylinder Ferrari, hit the start button, and mash the gas pedal to the floor. I said, what a great take on what I hope we are doing, The reality is that we don't rehearse, we don't think about this, we don't write bullet points, but the topics we cover are very, very integral to what we do, to our mantra, to our path to success, such as it may be. My collaborator, Nathaniel, hey, I sought him out. I chased this man for 6 months because I thought he would be a very good foil for me. No. I thought he would be an excellent foil for me.
It's true.
He would give me an opportunity to do what I do best, which is share. Hey, I'm a storyteller. I'm a raconteur. But then I also done a few tens of billions of dollars of business. And I relate so much of those experiences and stories, real live events, and so on. And in the course of that is when we get those emails saying, thank you so much for the 7 things I wrote down that changed my life. Getting just one of those emails makes the whole effort worthwhile. Having said that, if you want to hire us to help you specifically, please do. We love making bank deposits in addition to sharing everything about our lives. So anyway, I have already talked too much, not entirely off topic, but I think that people who listen to us or watch us, the little they know about us, the more they know about us, the better it is, the more credence they give to what they hear. No, we're not two men sitting on top of a milk crate in Selmar, California, or in southern Croatia, just talking on the top of their heads. If we say this is we develop a trend of thought, we develop a process, a paradigm. Trust, we've been there, done that.
Yeah.
And I promise you, we have the scars to show for our experiences. Yeah, we really do. We do. You don't travel millions of miles and do $40 billion worth of business without getting beaten up and then identify your successes. And that's how a lot of this stuff gets developed in context of do's and don'ts, suggestions we make, imperatives that we think are just that, imperatives.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. So in the other episodes, you talked about saying yes. And I think, with career turning points, right? Let's break it down, right? Turning point in my career said yes when you could or should have said no, right? And this is like fundamental. And that could be someone offering you a job. It could be someone offering you an opportunity to do some speaking. It could be someone offering you an opportunity to be on a podcast. It could be actually anything that is related in the direction that you want to go, because you've got to know which direction you want to go. Otherwise, every way is the right way, right? And that is something that I think it can be very, very challenging for people if they don't have a clear vision of sort of the direction they're going. And generally, that's when you're early on in your career and you don't really have lots and lots of competencies at that point. You might have some, yes, you've got some education, you've got some experience, but actually at that point in your life, you're a bit lost because you might not have a 5-year goal of in 5 years time, I want to own and be, I want to be CEO of a technology business, right? You might not have that goal in your wheelhouse, so to speak. So how do you recognize career opportunities, Steve, to make an impact on your life and also other people's?
Well, there are really two buckets, if you will. One of those is when you have the opportunity to seek out opportunities. I'm sorry for the wrong choice of words. You will never be able to exploit an opportunity unless you're looking for them. And two, you have to be ready to do that. And I can elaborate on that a little bit. The other part is the stuff that just, comes your way. And relating back to the say yes while others say no. If I may relate a story of the best and worst job I have ever had, the same one. I was 16 in LA. I wasn't quite homeless, but I had the dubious distinction of being penniless on two different continents, in Europe and here in the United States. And although my father was a world-class scientist, if you will, he was an engineer, agriculture, husbandry. When we got to this wonderful country, we were penniless. And of course, I had to work. So my money, I couldn't rely. Listen, my father was a world-class figure until he showed two middle fingers to the communists in Romania. And they finally, 15 years into that, they threw us out. Yet money was, I promise you, the man was well-to-do before the war. The communists took it all. Okay, I couldn't take money from my parents, so I worked. I went to school. I hustled the Hollywood crowd on tennis courts. Really good money, ugly, but good money. And then I needed more because somebody said something about tuition. And so I looked for another job in addition to hustling the Hollywood folks on tennis courts. And I took a job at the biggest hospital facility in the city. Today is one of the biggest in the world, Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. Cedars was already huge. And I took a job cleaning rat cages in the research labs. Now, why do you want to do that? Well, because it paid 24 cents an hour more than anything else I could get. Interesting, when you walk in the beautiful facilities and everything's shiny, the floors are shiny, the lights are bright, and you go down a couple floors in the elevator, and more shiny floors, beautiful, then you go all the way down there, shiny lab. And you walk in, and everything's lovely, except you throw up because of the smell. Then you go in the real work area, and you throw up for all the hours you're there because it's what it is. How is that important? And how does that relate to careers? I said no to that job when nobody else wanted to. Accomplish two things. It's really good for weight management. You can't eat while you're there. That's just out of the question. And two, you learn the precept of honest work for honest pay. And you say yes when nobody else says yes. And you take home that paycheck, which is $9.12 more a week, because it's necessary and nobody else will do it. I shared that because we talked about this at length. I mean, there's really the three most important words in the language, inarguably, is advertising. Folks say, oh, free. No, nonsense. Free is cheap. Free is overdone. If everything, free. If everything is free, nothing is free. It's absurd. The life scientists, no. The most important word in the language is no. Really? I mean, it's so easy to say no, which is why every contentious business deal I ever made, every contentious argument or negotiations I've ever been on, I insisted on doing it in person, face to face, not online, not on the phone. Your collaborator here got on more airplanes than you can believe to have a 15-minute chat. No, it's really easy to say no on the phone, by email, text, whatever. Go ahead, say no to me face to face when I make a good argument. And when I show you, I got arms and legs, kids, just like you do. I contend the most important word in language of success is the word yes. That is when people who have what it takes, who are thoughtful, who are somewhat analytical, who have goal-oriented, will say yes when nobody else will say yes. We'll say yes to an opportunity, but the trick is what you and I talk about, and we will continue to talk about, the necessity to do homework. You need to do the homework. When you're done, you do some more, then you do some more, then you do some more, and you become a shameless researcher. So once you do that, saying yes becomes something entirely different. The story we tell is about people who do this understand that the forest of business is full of wolves. So don't be wandering in there knowing that, unless you have assessed the risk, you know the opportunity, and you understand the liability. And if you've done the homework, then yes, people, not no people, not wobbly, waffly people, yes, people, walk into that forest and slay those dragons to success. And they're absolutely prepared to do it. So in terms of finding opportunities, the great little pieces of paper in Chinese fortune cookies at restaurants have all these great sayings. Confucius didn't write any of them. Salespeople in the factory that makes the paper write them. Okay, I love the ones I get often says, great opportunities right around the corner. Wow, I'm excited. I'm going to frame that dude. And I turn it over, and there's nothing on the back except my lucky numbers for the week. And I start yelling at the server. Okay, but what corner? Where? Where do I go? Well, some people look for those opportunities. You and I spoke about this a couple of days ago. You drive your car, and you get the red light, and you stand there. And there's 2 more lanes, and you're looking around. What are those people doing? Scratching their nose, fiddling the radio, talking, looking at the phone. People who look for opportunities have a completely different thought process. How long is this light? It's like 2 minutes, 1 minute, 3 minutes. Those people think, oh, I should have gone faster. It's probably a 3-minute light. People who seek opportunities don't think that way. They say, if this is a 3-minute light, I got these people here. What can I sell them? What do they have in common? What is their need I can fulfill or create? There's a reason for bus bench advertising. You don't find bus bench advertising in the middle of a block, in a corner. So the people who seek opportunities are those that ultimately find them. Yeah, we can step in there. Somebody brings something to you to say, whoa, what a great opportunity. And you know what? Lightning also strikes some people, and miracles do happen. But I don't think they're going to happen to me anytime soon. I'm certainly not waiting for that to happen. Be nice. But I don't know. I mean, it's you seek opportunities. They're around the corner. Yeah, they may very well be, but not if you're not looking for it. You cannot sit at home and hoping for an opportunity to arrive. Right? It's the same thing as the absolutely best-looking human in the world. It's the smartest, dressed in a beautiful wedding gown, sitting inside an apartment. Not really? Well, unless the pizza delivery guy is your ideal man, you ain't getting married. Opportunities are there, but you have to find them. And once you find them, it's only those people who say yes, or others say no. And again, another mantra, you just don't consider failure an option. You say, okay, I'm going to do the work. By the way, if you don't do the work, you will fail, but never consider failure an option. Every successful person, just about, there's some people who inherit success, but most wildly successful people that failed at things, and have failed at them spectacularly and often. However, none of them failed for lack of belief on what the opportunity, and for lack of doing the work. If it fails, something out of the grasp, something we just didn't know.
Yeah, but you learn, don't you? You learn from these experiences. I mean, look, right. If there are people who are listening to this and they're completely, they're stuck in a job, right? Because a job, yes, it will feed you, and it might be rewarding at times, and you are learning certain skills. You've built up a load of skills, but at the end of the day, if you want to change career completely, right? My personal opinion is that you should actually pick maybe 5 different things that you like the sound of. So for example, you might be, well, it doesn't matter what you're doing now. You could sit down and say, well, you know what, if I read 50 books on blockchain technology, right, and I listen to 20 podcasts and I watch a few videos, I'm going to be the top 3% in the world in knowledge on that new subject, right? You might not know what it is right now, but you can pick up free courses from places like MIT that have been going for 20 years, giving away free courses on everything that you can possibly think of, right? So you're going to start with some competencies. You're going to be maybe good at customer service, good at talking to people, you could be good at all sorts of things, but you've got to find some things that you really want to learn about, in my opinion. And then you can sort of move the ship, steer the ship towards that direction. At the end of the day, right, if you've got to sit down, you've got to listen to a 20-hour course on machine learning, right, which is what I did, an MIT MOOC course, which is a free course, it will kill you. But by the time you finish listening to that, your brain is absorbing that information. If you make some notes while you're going along, you're going to pick up lots and lots of information that in essence is going to help you to communicate within that particular industry if you want to change industry. That's my sort of take on moving industry.
I could argue with you. If I may allow me a little history here, I have 2 daughters. Thankfully, they're brilliant, and I say that they're grown people. And as I tell you every time, is that is how I know prayer works. Because for 9 months each time, I prayed that the kid turns out like her mother. 2 daughters, 2 mothers, and I prayed they turn out like their mothers, not me. Thankfully, my prayers were answered. My older daughter graduated from college at 20, having wasted 2 years with that to begin with. But then when she put the turbo booster on, watch out, and she was a world-class hip-hop dancer and addicted to skiing, because I addicted her to that. But anyway, here's a really bright young woman who decided she wanted a career in advertising. And there's a point to this. This plane will land before crashing, I promise. Advertising. Now, 20-year-old who was a world-class hip-hop dancer, traveling, doing that stuff, she will have a career in advertising. She was going to make television commercials, produce music, because she was brilliantly musical. That is true. She was a prodigy from the time she was a little girl. And she came home from school and declared that since everybody else graduates in 5 years, she graduated in 3.5. We owe her a year of tuitions. I wasn't about to argue that, although I did argue that. So she had to live on her own, and she had to have all her expenses covered for a year, because we owe that to her. She's not lacking for big ones. She decided that she's going to go to work for a big agency here in Los Angeles. That's one of the big agencies owned by Saatchi Worldwide. Okay? And she can make television commercials. I tried to explain to her that that's lovely, but the people that produce the Nissan and the Sony commercials and all those commercials, those are seasoned people. Those budgets, the millions for a 30-second spot, they don't hand that to some 20-year-old kid. Okay, so now she turns 21. She did not get a job for 10 months. For 10 months, she hounded them for a job. And they kept saying, we're not hiring. One, two, we're certainly going to hire kids like you. What the hell for? Just because you come from an advertising family, because your parents do billions, because they have 100,000 cuts of music, that doesn't make you perfect for us. For 10 months, what she did was, in addition to dancing, of course, she hounded these people weekly. I want a job. For every week, they told her, go away. And then she studied some more. And she watched a lot of television commercials. I introduced some people. She talked to people who made commercials. She watched them. She tried to dissect it. 10 months later, they said, okay. And they hired her. Now, in her early 20s, she was running up 10, 20, 30, $40,000 a month on one of my credit cards, buying music for every commercial they made. And then she ended up producing every Nissan commercial for a couple of years, Sony commercials, name it. So here's a kid who looked for an opportunity. She knew what she wanted. Never mind school, never mind dance, never mind any of that. I figured my kid's going to become a ski instructor. To make minimum wage. No. The whole story, the point of the whole story is that she was focused on creating an opportunity. And one of the things that we have had the opportunity and the pleasure to coach some people and tutor some people, mentor some people who were at some point in their jobs to how do I get that career move? And it's an amazing thing when you identify with a career path. I really want to do that. And they say, okay, now there are 100 companies that'd be really good for me. And identify those target companies. I want to work for Schooler Enterprises. And then we coach, push, mentor, cajole, threaten, whatever the heck it is, those people to do their homework. What's the homework? Learn everything you can about the people you're applying with. Because when we get in that room, you're going to know their issues, one of their wants, don't wants, likes, dislikes, preferences, based upon everything. Read the damn 10Ks. Read their tax filings. Listen on a Wall Street call. And that's when you send off the letter or the email and do the homework, because it's not so simple to find the decision maker, but you are going to find the decision maker. Or you're going to hire guys like you and me to find you the decision maker or introduce you. And that's when you send the email, the letter out that say, hey, this is who I am. This is what I am. I'm going to work for you. This is what I can do. This is what I fit.
But I forget on the amount of people actually who apply for jobs that don't exist, right? And actually remove the need for a recruiter in the process. I mean, I was talking to a guy the other day, and he was saying that he just lets people make a list of bullet points about their job that they want. He doesn't use recruiters. He doesn't like them because he had bad experiences with recruiters in the past. And this is something that recruiters must remember. Yeah. I don't have, I wouldn't use a recruiter. I would actually hire people myself because I'm just not interested in, or I would even work for a company myself if they came to me directly. But I would not use a recruiter purely based upon one interview that I went on. This woman talked me into, she said, oh, you're going to love this job. It's just up your street. This is when I was in the booze industry. And she said, we'll give you a brand new Mercedes and you can drive around and go and sell this beer and all these products and blah, blah, blah. And I said, okay, I'll drive over and I see you. So I drove for 2 hours, went for this interview, and I never forget it. It was with this racing driver, this retired racing driver, totally eccentric. His kid had drawn the label for the bottle, and it was a child's picture for this bottle of beer, which is completely illegal. And they didn't take, and I said, I think it's illegal what you're doing there. Having a label where the child has drawn it and it looks like it's going to appeal to children is clearly illegal. And he really didn't like that at all. And I never heard from them again. And it's like you go to all that trouble to persuade someone to go and have an interview, right? And it's like, why even bother? Like, why not just not waste their time and yours at the end of the day? If you're not going to have the respect for someone to go back. And I wrote in off-license news. I wrote a really rude paragraph in off-license news. It's a shame I don't have that, because it was quite funny, actually. And I said exactly who it was, how unethical they were, how they shouldn't have had this photo on this bottle from this kid that had drawn a picture and everything, and just let them have it. And it's like you can't do things like that. You have to be really super polite to people these days. And that goes for applying for jobs, or trying to find people to work with, right? But at the end of the day, you've got to define what happy is, right? Because you need to satisfy your basic needs first, and then you've got to satisfy what you want from life, right? So I think making a list of first of all, listing your basic needs is a really great thing to do, because then you might realize that actually, yes, you're in this job paying $500,000 a year, but it's stressing you out, and actually you don't really want to work that hard, because it's not really making you very happy. So if you work out your basic needs, you might be able to start a business. You might be able to do all sorts of things, right? But then that becomes a career, doesn't it? Once you really get involved, get emotionally involved, enjoy what you're doing, and see value, feel, I'm not going to say purpose, because purpose is a bit of a overused term, but I think once you get that feel good, and you can pivot into something really, really interesting. I can see you've got lots of stuff to sort of say around this one, Steve.
Yeah. Much of what we do here is supposed to be instructional. And I don't mean we're not going to lecture you. We're not going to lecture you. We're not going to beat up on you. We're going to put some stuff in front of you that's not word salad. I love saying word salad, because 90% of everything I read is just wonderful, elegant word salad. And now 75% of that's not even original. It's Chad GPT or Da Vinci or Goober or Robert or Johnson or whatever the heck these are called, because two of them are well funded and the others don't have enough money to get even near. Somebody talks about wonderful Da Vinci, great. If the big boys have burned billions already, you and I have a shot at creating one of these? No. But I want to bring it down to something very, very basic. What is the difference between a job and a career? First of all, a job, if you get up in the morning and say, oh, whoopee, gotta go to work again. You got a job. You don't have a career. And to just digress, because after all, I am a storyteller. I remember the day where I was a kid. I might have been 30. And I think the company might have been doing $200 million. When $200 million was a lot of money. And I only worked 100 hours a week, and I skied like a maniac while working. And I was on airplanes every week going somewhere. Hey, there's a candy store for a young guy. But then it's like, I remember the day when I walked through the office around 11 o'clock in the morning, because I went out to the parking lot to get some of that car. And I turned to one of the office, a senior accounting manager, and I said, can I get the prelim on this? And I walked out. And hours later, I called her boss. I said, what the heck? I said, I'm getting on the red eye tonight, and I really want to have it. He said, well, did you ask Barbara? I said, yeah. And what happened? Nothing happened. Around 7:30 in the evening, 8 in the evening, it was already dark. I left the office to drive to the airport. On the corner of my building, on the bus bench, is sitting this woman. And I said, I pulled over. What are you doing here? Waiting for the bus. I said, I know where you live. It's going to take you 2 hours to get home. Buses. I said, yeah. I said, I'm going to give you a lift. No. You don't say no to the boss when he wants to give you a bloody lift. Is there something wrong with my fancy car? You'd rather wait for the bus? I finally said to her, you have two choices, get in the car or don't come to work in the morning. I'm offended. So I said to the car, what is wrong with you? You don't like your job? She says, you asked me for something. And I said, yeah, where is it? I was going to read it, You didn't say please or thank you. And I said to myself, I got to fire this woman because I'm just too busy. And I said, oh, okay, please, thank you. She was the same annoying, awful human for another 15 years, but that's another story. But you learn that lesson. The following day, happens to be a Friday, I walked through a bullpen, going to my office, and there are 3 or 4 people standing around. I'm saying, be nice. So, hey, how you guys doing? Oh, okay. And one of the senior folks, who's an assistant VP or senior manager, said, man, I'm glad it's Friday. Been a long week. And then the man said, I'm glad I don't have to come back to this place again for a couple of days. And I thought about it. I said, all of us kind of like the weekend. I need to decompress because I've already been on the turnaround. This is 4 o'clock in the afternoon on Friday. I gave Barbara a lift on Thursday evening. I got on the red eye, went to New York. I had a meeting at Kennedy Airport at 6:30 in the morning, got on 9 o'clock. I was back in the office for lunch. So don't tell me about weekends. And I looked and everybody said, yeah, except Barbara, who looked at me one like this. Oh, no. And I said to this guy, I said, tell you what, we all appreciate the weekend. Well, I need to do the same. I was in New York for 2 hours this morning. I got 11 hours of airplane time the last. They said, oh, okay. I said, tell you what, if your issue is you're tired, I get it. You want to decompress, I get it. But the point is you don't have to come back to this place. I have a much better idea for you. You don't have to come back at all. I'll give you a very long weekend. And I marched into Mednick's office, our CFO. I said, get him a final paycheck. Go to HR. He's gone at 5 this afternoon. No one ever again in my presence for all those years ever said, oh, I don't have to come back to this place again. Now, if that's how you feel, you have a job. Now, the definition for me in terms of a job, forgive the digression with the stories, a job is a necessity. And what is it? It's as you said, it satisfies your basic needs. Your basic needs are food, shelter, and the need to belong. That's about it. One way or the other, by hell or by fire, we all find a way to satisfy those needs, whether it's on a government dole or a job, but it's a job. A career is a different animal altogether. It's the means to satisfy long-term goals, needs, and then the big elephant in the room is called wants. Because I hate to tell anybody this, but it ain't satisfying your needs that makes you happy. That's just, you have to do that. What satisfying your wants is the key to happiness. So if you're in a job, because you have to be, congratulations. You're like 98% of us. However, you want to be in a career, the mindset's entirely different. What do I do with this job? Turning points is what you have to look for in the job. Without a doubt, is when you say yes and nobody else says no. Early in my career, very early in my career, I was a kid. I was in my mid-20s. And the company had, you get 1 week vacation a year for 5 years. Year 6, you get 2 weeks. I walked in my boss's office one day. I said, look, I got married. I've never had a chance to take my wife on a honeymoon. I'm going to go a month from today. I'm going to go away for 2.5 weeks. He said, good, have a great trip. Don't come back. Huh? We only give 1 week here for, and he was a workaholic, so understand it. Mm-hmm. I said, but look, young wife, I haven't had a vacation since I was 12 years old. Have a great trip. digress. I ended up working for that man for 19 years, by the way. Now, and I said, 2.5 weeks later, I walked in his office and said, I'm reminding you that I'm going to be gone for 2.5 weeks. He told me, asked me nicely where I was going, blah, 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 and wished me a great trip. Have a good time. Say hello to your wife. And I'm sorry this job didn't work out for you. Well, I left on a trip on a credit card, which had no money, which I lost after the trip, and I left. So I came back on a Wednesday, and Thursday morning I went to the office. Hey, I'm fired, might as well go pick up a final check. I walked in the office, I sat down, I discovered I had a chair because the guy I worked for directly quit. Now I had a chair instead of filing stool. And my boss walked in the office, a tie askew, sweating through his shirt, looked at me and said, do you know how to put together a media plan? Our media plan? I mean, he was angry. And I had exactly two options: to say no and get fired, or stay fired, or say yes and get fired a month later when he figured I had no clue. I said, yes, of course I do. Okay, well, do it. And he walked out of the office. I said, who can I call? The reality is that within a year, a man walked in my office one day and said, everything I've done for the last 2 years failed. It's up to you. Because what I created a plan out of total ignorance based on a Manningism, which says to a newborn, every joke is new. I had no idea why we did it that way. I didn't know whether it's good or bad. I knew it was bad because it wasn't working. So I don't know how it's done. I think we should do this. So in my ignorance and perhaps a bit of arrogance, that was the second real turning point in my career. The first one was cleaning rat cages. The second one was I lied to my boss. So yeah, I know how to do that. I made a career out of that little conversation. I made a big career, thankfully, out of a big conversation. And that same man that fired me instantly also put up my stuff for 19 years through billions and billions and billions of dollars of business, to the point where I ran the business and he sculpted and kept questioning, what are we doing now? Okay, it was a wonderful thing. But I looked at that moment in time as an opportunity to create a career. And I built it on absolute puff and the belief that I might be able to figure it out. Now, our resources are so bountiful and so accessible that you can get so much data, so much information to help with these processes. One of the advantages we have, particularly in the United States, most people are no longer willing to work as hard as few, and not as hard as many 2 decades ago, 3 decades ago. When I was young and a brand new denizen of this country, we were stunned that the typical American wanted to work overtime. They wanted to work Sundays because you got paid double time. When you say to the workforce, does anybody want to work Sunday? Everybody said me. The biggest company I had the pleasure of running, for various reasons, thousands of employees, when we said to the line workers, to the production people, we need people to work Christmas Day and New Year's Day, 90% said, I'll do it. Wow. Because that's the culture that we created. One of the advantages we have in terms of creating a career is that most people, certainly in America and Western Europe, are not willing to work as hard as you need to create a career out of a job.
Got it.
Because it's not easy. It's hard. Yeah. I have friends who have achieved successes in businesses, so on, whom I solicited to take part in my gigs over the years. Now, I got this big opportunity here. We are buying Russian spy satellites. They're still parked over Western Europe, and we're going to buy that, and we're going to sell bandwidth to people like AT&T.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what it takes. It's not simple. It's not a phone call. I had friends who have gotten advanced degrees, were successful in big businesses, will look at me and say, not interested. Why? I will not work as hard as you will. I said, you understand, as a new career, it's something that the reason we have this opportunity, because my business in Europe affords me these relationships. Scary. I'm not willing to work as hard as you. So one of the keys, so a bit of a bottom line, is that if your issue in a job is that you're not willing to work harder and smarter for a payoff here, you're not looking for career. You're fine. Food, shelter, and you belong to the 294 people in your unit that do the same thing you do. Mm-hmm. You do pile 1 from A to Z, then you go to pile 2, you do that for A to Z, go to pile 3. And some people sit there and look at the piles and say, there's got to be another way. And they push and push and push. And eventually some boss says, that Schooler guy's got something different. And the 6 things he wants to do is out of his mind, but this is pretty darn good. Mm-hmm. So they look and say, you really think? Yeah, I really think it should work. Are you going to do this? You're damn right I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
Bingo.
Well, thank you.
A career.
That's I tend to agree, and that's how to create meaningful impact. Right? Is to convert your job.
Thank you.
Move
meaningful
jobs
impact.
into a career. Right? It's creating meaningful impact. All of that actually not overworking, but just working smart, trying to learn things that other people don't want to do. Not being a perfectionist, but aiming for perfection. I think that's a good place to end.
I think that doers, it's what you said. Doers ultimately get there. Dreamers, they fall asleep again. Oh, you can't dream yourself to success. We've done an hour on that. You can sit in the backyard, go like this, and imagine yourself to being successful.
No.
Your friend Tony Robbins notwithstanding, it just doesn't work that way. You might as well sit there and dream and visualize yourself to be taller, skinnier, richer, better looking, and all that. It doesn't work. But pivoting in your career. If you're pivoting a new career, it's just another great new opportunity. You're pivoting in a job into a career. Now there's a golden goose. So you know what? Fundamentally, one of the things that we need to understand is that it's also a process. When you consider which path is most likely to bring you a lasting positive change, a career, you have to ask yourself, how much emphasis do I place on aligning my present-day goals and needs with long-term objectives? A bit of a problem, because right now in a job, your goals are just a satisfaction of basic needs.
Yeah.
Are you willing to take a loss, a risk, to create a career out of that? If you have done your homework, if you haven't done homework, fool's errand, don't bother. Totally. And ultimately, you also need to consider, what are you willing to do or compromise? Compromise is a tough word. Are you willing to be so situationally ethical to embark on a career? You know what? I promise you, we are really slick marketers, you and me. I have sold horse manure, and I've sold brain food. I've sold satellite traffic. I sold undersea cable to the Norwegian fishermen. There is no doubt in my mind that you and I can sell illicit drugs, without a doubt. I know we can. I know we can.
I'm not selling drugs.
I can sell brides to coal miners in Ukraine.
but Steve,
do I want to do that? Do I want to do that? I know I'm not situationally ethical. I'm not going to bend to do that.
Very good. That's a very good place to end, actually, because I know you've got to drop off to another meeting. And no, it is about being ethical, and it's about being motivated and feeling positive about what you do, and taking those opportunities. And that's it, really. So if anyone,
I would like our audience, again, thank you. It's really gratifying and humbling to get the feedback that you get from people who are relevant in many ways. And then people say, something in that said, something you said changed my life. It's really
Yeah.
gratifying.
I
It's
mean, don't forget,
also,
but don't forget, we've both also coached people in the, over the past, you've coached people over the last, 40 years, 50 years in business, right? And I've
sounds,
coached people for just recently, I actually helped someone get a 300% increase in her wages. I couldn't believe it. She got a new job, and it was because she stayed on track. She was thinking about going to do something completely random. I said, what are you doing? You're insane. You need to stick in your lane, stay on focus, stay on point. And sometimes you've got to do that. So, and that, but you've got to
I will be
enjoy it.
late to my meeting just to say a couple things. It's fascinating when you take someone who's successful, who's not meandering in a career, and refocus them to what's relevant in their career. It's fascinating when I talk to a client, a Fortune 100 client, who has their eyes on the shiny penny over there. It's, they're bored. And then you refocus them on how to achieve and how to get excited in their core competencies. It's like an acquaintance I have who's a neurosurgeon. He is a very unique guy. He is one of the very few that is the last resort, to stop a last resort. If the patient is just beyond salvaging, they will ultimately end up with this man or that woman. There's a dozen of them. Everybody in the profession knows who they are. So this man, his job is to save lives that nobody else can save. And he does some. And those surgeries are 10, 12, 14 hours of standing on his feet, wearing diapers.
Wow.
And they're awful. And he can't really afford to know these people because many of them just die. It's too late, inoperable. And then he saves one or two. And he's whining on me how bored he is. He really thinks he should get more into plastics or, real estate because he's bored and his feet hurt.
Yeah.
He's bored and he's got a career that 100% of neurologists on earth and surgeons who died to do that for one day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then you coach him or you set him straight. Not any different that my car company client, I think they're Fortune 10, who just has this thing about, I really want to make a car like them. But that car is not selling. But we want to do that. But they're not selling. So you're not filling a market niche. You're not filling a market. You're not creating a market share. You have to create an entire market share because I hate to tell you this, but General Motors and Honda can't sell those, period. You will, But it's the same thing to my neurologist guy. When we sit there and I try to explain to him that I look at you and to me, you're a miracle worker. You save lives. How is that for a career? I can't think of a more elegant career. We can make money, but you do that. And you look at me and say, you're right. And then I say, now, why are you still doing it? Well, it's not the money, but every once in a while, there's a case that gets to me. Why? Don't know. Okay, let's talk about the ones that get to you. Can you name any patient you operated on this last week? No. Can't get close to them. They die. But I remember this kid. How's that for pointing you? Let's look at your career as a lovely 4-lane highway, and you're in a fast lane right down the middle. And then the guy said, you're right. By the way, the cycle repeats about once a month. Once a month, he gets tired, bored, he's whining. And then we talk about a couple of patients and say, well, you know what? I did have a case. I am thrilled to do this because this ain't no job for me. This is an elegant piece of career for me, doing this with you and talking to people and hopefully, hopefully, that's way too modest for me. I know there are a ton of people hopefully trainloads of them or planeloads of them who walk away from these things saying, I got something out of this. This is good. This is great. When is the next one coming out? What are you guys doing next?
Absolutely.
I want more about Art the
Absolutely.
Janitor. I want to know about this leadership homogenized. I want to know about pillars of success. Great. Reach out.
Yeah.
Reach out to us.
Drop us a message. We'd love to hear from you.
And
also go back and listen to some of the prior episodes, because they all contain massive value. And we would love to hear from you. If you want anything specific, give us a shout. And thank you very much, Stephen. Really appreciate it.
I thank you very much, Nat. You have a
Thanks for watching and listening to Positive Personal Power Podcast. Get access to all our podcasts and other important updates on www.legacymediahub.com and subscribe wherever you listen and watch your podcasts on the Legacy Media Hub YouTube channel.